Sweet and cozy night, and you are here by my side. Bells are ringing and the time is right to celebrate this Christmas. We're gonna have some fun. Merry Christmas to everyone. So everybody gather round and sing with me. Yeah, it's Christmas, joyful Christmas. Hang out Christmas lights. Let's celebrate tonight. Fairy lights, they shine so bright. We share this very special night. Close your eyes, make all your dreams come true. Oh, what a joyful Christmas. We're gonna have some fun. Merry Christmas to everyone. Now everybody gather round and sing with me. Well, it's Christmas, very joyful Christmas. Hang up Christmas light. Ooh, let's celebrate tonight. If you feel alone, don't hide.
If you feel alone out there during the Christmas season, this is the night to join us on the pregame Blitz and the Viking Nation Live. Hey, guys, welcome to the show. It's your favorite neighborhood. I don't know what I call myself, a football connoisseur, a super fan, or just a regular guy like you guys. And I just like to get on here and talk about high school football and spend the evening with you guys. So, hey, listen, welcome to Countdown to Christmas, the Viking Nation style. I am your host, Larry Godwin. Some people call me LG. You can call me whatever you want, as long as you call me on this number, 229-469-1205. Hey, guys, on with all seriousness and all sincerity, I hope you guys are off to a fantastic Christmas season start. Thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. You know, normally throughout the year, we have two shows, one on Tuesday night and one on Thursday night. The Tuesday night show, you guys know by now, is the pregame Blitz. Thursday night show is the Viking Nation Live. This time of year, when things start to slow down in the football world and schedules and playoffs take over and all the games are consolidated, there's less to talk about, right? So we have combined the two shows through, and we're going to do this throughout the end of the year. And then we're going to take some time off once the end of the year gets here just to recharge our batteries. But until then, we are running wide open. And we hope that you guys tag along for the ride. So anyway, Chase Garto, you are a super fan. I'm not sure why you're not on the show tonight with me, but you are a super fan. All of you are. Listen, if you've stuck with us this long throughout the entire year, and we are on the cusp of starting December out, and you guys are still red hot about high school football, even though your team may have been knocked out already, I would consider you a super fan. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And so since we're combining both shows tonight, we'll have plenty of Lowndes talk. You know, the Lowndes coaching search is still red hot. A lot of people are talking about that. We're talking about some other coaching searches as well. And then we're going to talk about bracketology as well. So anyway, so let's go ahead and jumpstart tonight's show by talking about the fantastic sponsors that have stuck with us all year long. And where's my sponsor slides at? So anyway, here they are. You guys know them by now. I'm going to change the order a little bit to give everybody a fair shot. We want to thank these folks, fine folks at Commercial Banking Company. Guys, if you need a hometown bank that know you by name, they're a friendly bunch of people and they care about your business, right? So if you need personal checking accounts, savings accounts, CDs, IRAs, auto loans, mortgage loans, or business loans, please give the folks at Commercial Bank Company, that's CBC Bank, the fine folks at Commercial Banking Company, a try. 229-242-7600. We also want to thank Steve Nichols, Freedom with Steve Nichols. He had a robust show a couple of days ago. He couldn't make the show this morning because there was an illness in his family. So hopefully everything's okay there, but he should be back on the air tomorrow morning. He normally airs Monday through Friday every week, 6 to 9 a.m. So you want to make sure you catch Steve on Freedom with Steve Nichols every Monday through Friday morning. If you need a iPhone, Android, accessories, small business accounts, guys, it's the Christmas season. If you're in the spirit of upgrading your phones, needing some accessories, give Matthew Godwin a call at Verizon Wireless on Perimeter Road, 229-244-5858. Take advantage of their Christmas end of year specials. So give Matthew a call at Verizon Wireless on Perimeter Road. If you also need some investment advice, whether it's retirement accounts, whether it's regular brokerage accounts, whether it's just some general advice, some good advice, give this guy Kyle Conger a call at White Oak Investment. He can hopefully steer in your right direction. He has steered my financial ship in the right direction. That is for sure. We were just talking a couple days ago about this. 229-850-8848. Kyle Conger. He also sponsors the White Oak Investment comment line as well. We thank these guys. They've been with us all year. Josh is always saying, what can I do to help your program? What can I do to help you? So I want to make sure I help him in return. And he operates the Migraine and Spine Clinic of Valdosta. That's Josh Batson and Justin Haskin. They are the certified headache medicine specialists this time of year. If you're under stress because of all the trappings, the commercialization trappings of this holiday season, then you may be in need of his services to alleviate some migraine. If that's the case, give Josh a call. They offer a variety of migraine and back pain treatments. If you want to make sure your house is beautiful for the holiday season, give our buddy Tim Neesmith a call with A Shade of Perfection. Tim specializes in many, many things, but he really, really specializes in custom shades and blinds, and we appreciate his friendship. We appreciate his sponsorship as well. And, of course, our title sponsors, the Pepsi Bottling Company out of Valdosta, Georgia, the fine makers and distributor of Mountain Dew, Rockstar, Mountain Dew Energy, and Mountain Dew Spark. I could use a pretty good Spark right about now. Hold on 1 second. Hold that thought. Okay, just a taste of that jazzes me up. Just jazzes me up. And I know that you love Pepsi products as well. So thank you to all of our sponsors. And hopefully we'll have many more as we move forward. Now, one of the cool things about sponsoring this show is because it is an hour long a week, I try not to inundate you guys with 25 sponsors, 25 ads, because there's just not enough time. So once the ad spots fill up, that's one of the benefits to our sponsors. Once the ad spots fill up, they fill up. We're not going to take any more. If you want to be the automotive dealership that sponsors the show, we're not going to take another car dealer because we believe in helping the folks that help us. And we want to make sure that we are fair to all of our sponsors. So that's the way I've always done it. And that's the way we'll continue to do it. So anyway, if you would like to talk about sponsoring our program in the upcoming new year, give me a shout. You can go to the Viking Nation Facebook page, send me a direct message, or just send me a message, just I guess through this program, leaving your number, and I'll give you a call tomorrow morning. So anyway, thank you so much to all of our sponsors. So let's go ahead and talk about some of these brackets. We're going to talk about the Lowndes stuff because I know a lot of Lowndes fans want to talk about what they want to know about what the Lowndes superintendent had to say last night at the Touchdown Club meeting, because he did address this, right? He did address the Lowndes coaching search. And so we're going to get into all that. In this business, that's what's called a tease. So you're going to have to stay with me. Jeff Dasher says, LG, if I'm not mistaken, the Lowndes girls flag football team's in the playoffs. Hey, fantastic. As we always say, Jeff, go Vikings, right? Go Vikings. Listen, man, I love to say it all the time. One nation, one Lowndes, Vikings, Lowndes forever. Luke Bush says, happy holidays and good luck to all of our South Georgia teams still working to bring home the title, as always. Hey, fantastic segue, Luke. Let's talk about some of those teams. Here are the brackets and the teams that are still in it. Especially, I want to highlight the Southern teams that are still in this thing. Check out the Irwin County Indians, man. Up there in Ocilla, they're no strangers to championship football. And check it, man, look at the run they've had. They've had 4 rounds so far, and they've played 4 games at home. And we all know what a huge advantage playing at home, especially in the playoffs. How cool is that? You guys, for you Lowndes guys out there, do you remember a few years ago when we had that magical run to the state? I think it was 2019, and we kept winning the coin flip every single week, and we kept getting to play at home. What a blessing that is to host all those play. When you have 4 straight playoff games in a row at home, man, oh man, does that help your team out tremendously, right? So good luck to the Irwin County Indians as they take on Swainsboro this week. And there's a lot of chatter on some of the Facebook team pages, not team pages, but fan pages out there. Some Swainsboro folks and some Irwin County folks getting into it. So it's kind of been kind of fun. Now, there are some instigators out there as well. I don't like to call them pot stirrers, because to me, stirring the pot is not a bad thing, because, I like to eat. You can tell I like to eat, right? And I like to cook things every once in a while. And one of my favorite things to cook is chili. Believe it or not, if you ever come over to my house, I'm going to make you chili. And you are going to leave very, very satisfied. So one of the things that I like to think about is people that stir the pot, right? That's not necessarily a bad thing, because I liken it to cooking food. And so you don't want the pot of food to get stale. And every once in a while, you got to stir the ingredients all around and get that fresh stuff to bubble up to the top, so it makes everything taste better, and it basically enhances the flavor longer in the meal, right? Hey, that's my pot. I'm a positive guy. That's my positive spin on stir the pot. And that's why I'm so good at it. You got to admit, right? Anyway, so good luck to the Irwin Indians this coming Friday night up there in Ocilla as they take on Swainsboro. Now, in the other side of the bracket, you have Prince Avenue Christian taking on St. Francis. Don't know much about those teams, but Prince Avenue Christian is one of those teams that's recognizable. Jeff Heron went up there a few years ago. They've got a pretty good perennial type of program, so not at all surprised to see those guys. So we got the Class 1A Division II. Another, let's see, I don't think we have any type of South Georgia teams. We've got Bowden taking on Lincoln, Johnson taking on Schley County. I think that's how you pronounce that name. Here's another couple of South Georgia teams. You got Appleton County up there in Baxley. Then you got Fitzgerald. Everybody's watching Fitzgerald because, listen, especially if you're a Lowndes guy, you're watching Fitzgerald right now, and you know exactly why. Because their head coach is one of the guys that's rumored, not confirmed, but rumored to be in the hunt for the Lowndes head coaching job. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. For you Lowndes guys that I was polling you guys on the show last week, a lot of you were in favor of that, but we just don't know. Trust me, there's going to be a lot of people to choose from. And I've got a number for you that I'm going to throw out there in a few minutes. As we talked last night to Dr. Sean Harrelson, the superintendent of Lowndes County Schools. So moving on. Now, let me get back up to Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald was another one of those teams that kept winning the coin toss. And look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. What a tremendous advantage that is when it comes to home playoff games, right? So how odd is it that you have two rivals in Irwin County and Fitzgerald, both within 15, 20 miles of each other, and they both have 4 straight home playoff games? How fantastic is that? So anyway, we've got Carver. I think that's Carver out of Atlanta, not Columbus, but Carver out of Atlanta taking on Sandy Creek. Cedar Grove taking on Oconee. If you're a South Georgia team, you know a little bit of something about Cedar Grove. I think both Colquitt County and Lowndes have played Cedar Grove in the last couple of years, right? And I think both of you can tell you, even though they're a 3A team, these teams are loaded. Cedar Grove is a fantastic team. So, Daniel Calhoun, he corrects me. They're 9 miles apart. Fitzgerald and Irwin County, they're 9 miles apart. Hey, Daniel, I think I recognize your name. Are you an Ocilla fan? Are you an Irwin County fan? Daniel Calhoun. I can't. I see the names like Daniel Calhoun and Blake. I think Blake Henderson is a Fitzgerald fan, right? So, for you guys that are up there in Ocilla and Fitzgerald, what do you think about the possibility of losing Tucker Pruitt? Daniel Calhoun says Fitzgerald. Now this question is even more relevant. Daniel, what do you think about the possibility of losing Tucker Pruitt as the head coach? Because his name is rumored. Daniel says, don't cuss me like that. His name is rumored widely to be in the hunt for the Lowndes job. So, Daniel, if you want to give me a shout and talk about maybe some of the thoughts that folks up in Fitzgerald are thinking about, because I'm sure you guys are hearing the rumors up there. I'm going to put my call-in number back up on the screen here. Guys, if you want to take part in tonight's call, give us some robust opinion, if you will. The number is 229-469-1205. I'll leave that up there for a couple of minutes. So I want to welcome Daniel Calhoun to the program. Mark Dixon, I'm starting to see your name pop up as a regular. Rufus the man, big Colquitt County fan. Appreciate you checking our show out tonight. Hey, caller, welcome to the pregame Blitz on the Viking Nation Live. What's on your mind?
Hey, Larry. I was talking to a football coach I work with, and he was telling me there's a couple qualifications, but the biggest one for the coaching job is having a state championship as a head coach.
Okay.
That is their biggest qualification. Is if a coach doesn't have a state championship, they're not going to look at them.
Okay, so first of all, tell your name so I can address you properly.
Jonathan.
Hey, Jonathan.
Watson.
Jonathan who?
Watson.
Jonathan Watson. Jonathan, are you a Lowndes guy?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about what you've heard. You're talking about a state championship requirement. Now, tell me that again. What you just said.
They're saying if a coach doesn't have a state title as a head coach, they don't know. They're not going to look at him. He wants a coach who is proven to have state titles already and is going to hire somebody with already a state title.
Okay, so stay tuned, Jonathan, because I've got some news on that front. Because I talked specifically, I talked directly to the decision maker himself last night.
Oh, yes, sir.
And I asked him that very question at the Touchdown Club meeting last night, and you might be surprised with his answer.
Because I work with a football coach, and he was kind of telling me about that it was like a state title was one of his biggest things.
Gotcha. All right, let me ask you a question, Jonathan. Being a Lowndes fan, I'm sure you've heard some names out there that have been thrown around. So who are you rooting for? Who are you hoping to be the next Lowndes coach?
I'm really rooting for Tucker Pruitt.
Okay, tell me why.
Because Tucker Pruitt has a proven offense and an offensive scheme that is really proven to work.
Okay.
And he knows what he's doing because he's been at Lowndes, he's been at Valdosta, he's been at big schools, and he knows how to run a system.
Yeah.
And what it takes to win. And I've heard he's a really good guy, a really good caring guy that cares for people and cares for the players.
Gotcha. All right. So one thing that really stuck out that it doesn't matter which Lowndes fan I'm talking to, Jonathan, whether it's you or me or Billy Pearson or, 1,000 other Lowndes fans, every single time. Do you know the one thing that everybody talks about? Offense.
No, sir.
Offense.
Yes, sir.
The Lowndes fans are hungry for an offensively minded coach. Do you think that's a fair statement?
I think it is.
Why is that? I mean, it's not like the last 20 years we've had a lack of offense. Why do you think that is?
We haven't, but I feel like we need something that we're not going to be able to predict in the stands.
Oh, now we're getting to the brass tacks here.
Because sometimes I feel like I could have been like, okay, they're going to run the ball at the middle. He's going to run a screenplay.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of a predictable play calling.
Gotcha. Yeah, listen, man, you're not alone in those sentiments. A lot of Lowndes fans share that. I talk to a lot of them every single day, and especially during the season when we're going through that little tough spell there, losing 5, 6, 7. I can't remember how many games we've lost now this year, but a lot of people, one of their number one concerns was on the offensive side of the ball, how predictable we were. So I think offensive minded and someone that has a diverse offense, that's very important to a lot of Lowndes fans.
Yes, sir.
Well, listen, Jonathan, I appreciate your call, man. Thanks for being a fan of the show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Have a good night. And I appreciate a brand new caller, Jonathan Watson, straight out of the chute like that. Jonathan, man, if you're still listening, here's what I'm going to do. Because you're a brand new caller to the show, first time we've had a chance to talk. You're a Lowndes guy. Hey, man, get on the Viking Nation Facebook page and send me a direct message. Let me know how to get in touch with you because, man, I'm going to send you a Viking Nation t-shirt just because you are a great caller, dude. So that's how you do it on the show. Every once in a while, you got to roll the dice, call in, put yourself out there, let the people hear from you. And every once in a while, you might get rewarded with some goodies here and there. So anyway, Travis Hart said, we never had a real identity on both sides of the ball. Yeah. So you guys are really, really, really wanting to get into that Lowndes coaching search stuff. But you got to stick with me, guys. You got to stick with me. We got to get through this bracketology stuff. Because last week, we spent the entire show, about an hour and 15 minutes, talking about the Lowndes coaching search. And we didn't even get into the bracketology stuff. So let me go ahead. Let me go ahead and finish that. Take this off the air. Let me go ahead and finish that. So we talked about the 3A. Okay, so let's talk about 4A. Where's my pen? There it is. We talked about, let's talk about the 4A. So Cedartown is taking on North Oconee. They're going to be hosting North Oconee. Benedictine is going to be hosting True. Now, guys, let me make a comment here. Keep an eye on this Benedictine team. And here's why. I hope the Benedictine coach sends in his resume for this Lowndes coaching job. This guy has state championships under his belt. He's won up there. It's one of the very rare teams in the Savannah area that has an explosive offense, right? And he's won state championships. And now he started out in 2A with the same team, Benedictine, and they've risen up. And now finds himself in 4A, and here he is in the semifinals. This guy, I don't even know who the coach's name is, but this guy, he's making a name for himself. I don't expect him to be there at Benedictine very much longer. So he needs to send in his resume. If you guys are over the 912 area code and you know this coach, tell him LG said, hey, send us a resume. He's not going to know who you're talking about, but tell him I said to send in a resume. I'd love to see it. All right, let's talk about 5A, another team. Keep your eye on this team, Ware County. And here's why. They're going to be hosting another one of these South Georgia teams that have kept winning these coin tosses, and they're getting to play 4 home games at home. And as a Lowndes guy, every time Lowndes has traveled over to Memorial Stadium over in Waycross, we've won most of the time, the vast majority of times, but we all know how much of a struggle that game always is playing in Waycross. So that's a tough place. They call it the Swamp, but that is a tough place to play. And Ware County is this might be their year. The other reason I'm keeping an eye on Ware County is I keep hearing the name Jason Strickland. Yeah, I've heard it for other jobs in the past, other openings that have come up, but I'm hearing that name as well. So and Jason Strickland is another name that is connected to the Lowndes superintendent, Sean Harrelson. Not very long. I think they worked together for just a few months. Strickland was already the head coach for Fitzgerald, I believe, when Sean Harrelson arrives on the scene. So he had a number of years there where he had stellar records at Fitzgerald. Then he moved over to Pierce County, and now I think this is his 4th year with Ware County. So keep an eye on Jason Strickland, Ware County. I'm not saying that he's the guy, but I wouldn't be surprised if he shows some interest. Okay, so Ware County is going to be hosting Dutchtown. Probably going to be a good game. Now, this is another guy that I hope sends in a resume. The head coach for Warner Robins, Marquise Westbrook. His name was talked about, I remember, last time when Zach Grage was hired, because Marquise Westbrook has taken Warner Robins to the state championship game, either 4 or 5 years in a row, something like that. Now, he graduated a lot of talent. His offensive coordinator went over to be the head coach for Houston County, I believe. And so he had a rough start to the season. And look where Warner Robins is now. They find themselves back in championship circle in the Final Four, hosting the semifinal game against Cartersville. Now, this is not going to be an easy game, but look who he's had to beat to get there. He's had a pretty good run, right? So congratulations to Marquise Westbrook and the Warner Robins Demons. Let's see if it would be kind of fun to see Warner Robins and Ware County. Marion Hilton said, yes, Westbrook should have been selected last year. Listen, Miss Hilton, just between you and me, if Marquise Westbrook applied for that position and he wasn't selected over Zach Grage, then something was wrong. Just on paper by itself, Marquise Westbrook was head and shoulders. He just had the pedigree, right? But I don't know if he applied at all. So that's just an assumption on our part. But if he did apply, he should have been the one that's selected. So anyway, good luck to these 4 teams: Ware County hosting Dutchtown, Warner Robins hosting Cartersville. Now, 6A ball. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting. I was so disappointed to see the Thomas County Central Yellow Jackets go down to Roswell at home last week. Thomas County Central jumps out to a 24-6 halftime lead. They get the ball, I believe, starting in the second half. And I walk away just to go get a fresh cup of coffee because I was watching that game online. And I come back and settle down to my computer 5 minutes later, and all of a sudden, it's like 24-13, and then all of a sudden, now it's Roswell jumps out into the lead in the fourth quarter, and TC tries to come back, and they end up losing that game. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, congratulations to the Roswell Hornets. They will be hosting Gainesville. Now, the interesting thing about this Roswell game is they're not going to be hosting the game at home. No, even though your eyes are not deceiving you, it says that they're going to play a home game. They're going to be hosting Gainesville. But the GHSA has a 6,000 permanent seat requirement to host semifinal playoff games. And apparently Roswell's stadium does not fit that criteria. So they're having to move that game to a neutral field. Roswell's still going to be designated the home team, but they're moving that field to McEachern's, what is that, Cantrell Stadium? I think that's called. So anyway, what do you guys think about that? I understand the need for to have a big enough stadium because we've played at Roswell before. And Lowndes guys, if you remember making that trip up to Roswell a few years ago, you remember how small the visitor side stadium, part of the stadium is, right? So I guess they didn't have 6,000 seats to meet that seating requirement. So the game gets moved. Now, that's not the only game that was moved to a neutral site because of seating requirements. There's also going to be 2 games that's going to be played at Atlanta's Lakewood Stadium. And that's where, what's that team that plays up there? I can't remember right now. But anyway, they're going to be playing. They're going to be hosting Hughes. Langston Hughes is going to be hosting Rome High School at Lakewood Stadium, and Milton is going to be hosting Mill Creek. So they're going to be playing a doubleheader in that stadium, I believe. I can't remember if it was Friday or Saturday night, but it's on the same night. It's a doubleheader in that stadium because of seating requirements. What do you guys think of the GHSA having so much control over these stadiums when it comes to the playoffs? I remember a few years ago, for you Lowndes folks, do you guys remember when Lowndes was having that run? And I believe I can't remember if it was a quarterfinal or a semifinal game, but North Gwinnett, I believe, was coming down here. And so, in the playoffs, the home team, the visiting team is entitled to 50% of the seating capacity in the stadium. But let's be honest about it. When you're a Metro Atlanta team coming down to Martin Stadium, do you think they're going to bring enough fans to fill half the stadium? The obvious answer is no, right? So what does North Gwinnett do? They play games with the ticketing situation that particular week. They leverage that rule, and they would not provide an answer to how many tickets they would need. They basically held on to the rights of that ticket using this excuse, we may have enough fans to show that. They know dang well they weren't going to bring 6,000 fans down to Martin Stadium. They did that on purpose so Lowndes wouldn't sell those tickets to Lowndes fans to pack the visitor side. It was gamesmanship, right? But they exploited the GHSA rules for that particular situation. That's why I cannot stand the idea of the GHSA, which is a central organization, a governing body that actually takes control of a stadium when it comes to the playoffs. I can't stand that idea. Can't stand it. They take a large portion of the money. They control everything. They control the broadcast rights. If you got a radio broadcasting crew, yeah, they control those rights. If you've got a team that typically live streams on the internet, your games, the GHSA says, it ain't going to happen. In order to do that, your live streaming crew has to pay an exorbitant, crazy $500 fee, I believe, to the GHSA just to have the rights to stream their own team's game. Stupid rule. But what can you expect from a stupid organization like the GHSA sometimes? Some of their rules are dumb. Let me give you another idea of a dumb rule. And Valdosta found this out. Exactly. But they have to pay those. Trainer, you're right. The broadcasting rights go to their partners, the FHS, but they have to pay the fee to the GHSA to do that. So I remember, a couple of years ago, when Valdosta had some eligibility issues with some of their players, and the executive director had ruled that the players weren't eligible. And I actually agreed with that decision because they didn't follow the bona fide move rule. But the appeal process is just antiquated and it's dumb, and the deck is stacked against anybody and everybody who tries to appeal. So the appeal process, so the executive director makes the initial decision. The appeal process goes to a committee within the GHSA, and they hardly ever, and then they're not going to go against their executive director, right? So the stack is decked. So they're automatically going to say no. Then the next level of appeal is to appeal what? The full body of the board of trustees or the executive committee, one or the other. You get the choice as the defendant, if you will. Do you think any part of the GHSA, any part of the body of the GHSA is ever going to go against their executive director? 99% of the time? No. Maybe that's a little high. 90 to 90, maybe I should say 90 to 99% of the time. The answer is no. So they have these dumb, antiquated rules. Come on, GHSA, do better. Modernize your rules. If you're going to take such harsh, punitive action against a player that is hoping to remain eligible, and your executive director rules them ineligible, at least have the decency to bring in an independent appeal group, not the cronies. Come on, modernize your rules and actually be fair. So anyway, Coach Trainer says the GHSA ignored Buford coaches going on college visits with Justice Hayes before he transferred to Buford. Wilbur Pelfrey says, "Yeah, I'm on oral right now. I don't care who watches. When you get my age, you just don't really care anymore." So you remember Milton? We played. Wilbur Pelfrey says, "You remember Milton? We played. Jacoury was freshman in the playoffs. We played at Denmark School, new stadium. For some reason, it was in the rain. Milton went on to win state." Yeah, I remember that. Travis Hart says, "I think they should bring in some extra seating for the hosting school." I agree. But the wording is very, very clear, Travis. They emphasize, that's why they had that word permanent seating in there for a reason. So from what I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but from what I've heard, one of the schools offered to bring in some seating, right, to accommodate. But the visiting school did not agree to that. And so that's why they had to move it to a neutral site. Is that true? That's what I've heard. So we'll see. So anyway, Roswell will be hosting Gainesville at a neutral site. Hughes will be hosting Rome at a neutral site. Isn't it interesting that you have the two remaining games in 6A, and neither one of them is going to be played at the actual home stadium because of some antiquated rules? So anyway, let's talk about 7A. Colquitt County at home takes care of North Gwinnett. It wasn't an easy game for about a quarter and a half. And then beyond that, it was a blowout. So listen, we've said it all year long. This Colquitt team has got the makings of a state championship team. And I don't think Carrollton is going to be the team that upsets them. I just don't. Now, as a Lowndes guy, we know what Carrollton is capable of. We saw them up close in person up there in Carrollton, right? But they ain't playing in Carrollton. They're playing at the Hog Pen. Stevie Sheffield, I see your comments down there. You know what I'm talking about. Being a big Colquitt fan, Carrollton's got to come to you guys. And again, Colquitt, one of those South Georgia teams that has played that will be playing 4 home playoff games. Man, can't emphasize enough what a huge advantage that is. Woo, man. And we know how rough that hog pound is over there, Stevie. That's for sure. Will there be a rematch with Colquitt and Milton? I don't think so, Travis. I think it's going to be Colquitt and Mill Creek, man. I really do. Especially now since they're playing basically at a neutral site, right? So I think it's going to be next week. I think it's going to be Colquitt and Mill Creek in the state championship game. We'll see. We will see. Milton We've had some experience with Milton in the past before, and you know, under their old coach, Coach Clack, I think they would have had a shot. I don't know much about their new coach, but Mill Creek has looked like one of those teams all year long. They were one of the early season favorites to challenge Buford and Colquitt, and here we are at the end of the season, and it looks like it may happen. So we'll see. But I will tell you this: for some reason, if Milton knocks off Mill Creek this coming weekend, then go ahead and crown Colquitt County. Milton will not ever in a million years beat Colquitt County. I'm just telling you, they're just not. Mill Creek, if Colquitt can get past Carrollton, and I'm pretty sure they will, I think Mill Creek is the only other team in the state besides Buford that has a chance of beating Colquitt because of the talent that Colquitt is stacked with this year. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see. All right, so let's take this down. Get my pretty mug back on the screen. I know all you guys love that out there. So let's go to the White Oak Investment comment line. Joe Mamone from Prep Gridiron Logistics says, Langston Hughes to represent Georgia in the Geico Bowl if they win out. So Langston Hughes, one of the favorites, if not the favorite in 6A to win the state 6A title. I think it's going to be Gainesville versus Langston Hughes, and Langston Hughes is going to do this year what they should have done last year, which is take the 6A state title. Remember that game last year? They had Buford on the ropes, had them beat, and Buford just kept finding a way to score there at the end, and then actually blocked a game-winning field goal that Langston tried to basically deny them the state title game. So, man, oh, man. Coach Trainer says Hughes has nearly 20 transfers. Trainer, listen, man. Name a good Metro Atlanta team that doesn't have a number of transfers. Maybe not 20. Maybe it's 5. Maybe it's 10, 15. But your statement there does not surprise me anymore. There's always going to be super assembled teams in the Metro ATL. That's just the way it is now. That's modern day football. And that's why some people in South Georgia really didn't sweat it about when Rush was accused of what he was accused at when he was at Valdosta. A lot of people justified it and said, hey, you got to start doing that down here on a large scale if you're going to compete again with the Metro ATL teams. That's just the way it is. So I don't know, man. I don't call them recruited teams. I don't call them transfer teams. My preferred words of choice are the super assembled teams. That's what I call them. You can fit all kinds of buckets into that one phrase, the super assembled teams. Wilbur Pelfrey says that Milton has the best player in the state, 5-star committed to Alabama, plays both sides. Could very well be. But we know that it takes more than one player, especially when the other player may not have the best player in the state, but they've got a bunch of very good players in the state. Chase Garnto says, no, you don't. I'm assuming that he disagrees with me that says you need super assembled teams nowadays. Chase, if that's what you meant, yeah, you do. Yes, you do. So, Rufus Demand says, I thought Mill Creek had Caleb Downs. I believe they do. So Kyle Richter says, now this is interesting. LG, come on over to the Hog Pen and watch the Pack versus Kelton Friday night and bring Wilbur Pelfrey with you. Now, Kyle, listen, I'm not opposed to going over there, but man, I just don't like sitting over there by the Hog Pound. They get a little too unruly for me. I know they're just being good fans, but they just get a little too unruly for me, if you know what I mean. And if I do go, do I have to wear black and gold? I mean, I'm a Lowndes guy. I don't know if I own a single stitch of clothing that has that combination of black and gold. I have black slacks. I have a yellow dress shirt, I believe, but I don't dare wear them together. There's no way. Let me tell you a funny story several years ago. I was working out in the field, and it just happened to be on a Thursday afternoon, and our Lowndes JV team was playing at not Martin Stadium, but Bazemore Hyder. So they were playing the JV Cats that afternoon. And so I wanted to go to that JV game. So I got back early enough in town, and I did not think about what I was wearing. And I had on a black pair of slacks and a yellow polo shirt because I was working out of town. Didn't even think about it when I put my attire together that morning. So I drive back. It might have been Albany. It may have been Bainbridge, where I was at that day, but that's irrelevant. So I get back to town early enough to go to the JV game. And I'm sitting over there with my Lowndes buddies. And I think it was, it may have been Andy Rogers. I can't remember which specific Lowndes fan came up to me and says, "Larry, what are you doing?" And I'm thinking, what? I'm here supporting our JV team. And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Why are you wearing black and gold?" And then it dawned on me. It's like, dang it. How in the world does a Viking make that mistake, especially when you go to a Lowndes game at Bazemore Hyder? But anyway, it happens. Franklin Webb says, if you go over to Colquitt for the game, wear a Viking shirt and hat. Are you crazy? Franklin, do you think I'm a kamikaze pilot? There ain't no way in the world I'm doing that. No way. Not in that stadium when Lowndes is not there. I don't think that would be looked too kindly on. Franklin says, I am. Let me know how that goes. Now, I'm sure everything will be fine, but I ain't going to do it. Now, I'd have gone over there during playoff games before, and what I usually do is wear a neutral color. Sometimes I'll wear a white shirt or some other type of neutral color. So anyway, listen, man, why poke the bear when you don't have to? That's all I'm saying to you guys, like Coach Trainer and Franklin Webb. You know, there's being a big fan and there's being a smart fan. I'm just trying to fit into the bucket of a smart fan. Now, my buddy Rufus will probably take care of my back over there. Right, Rufus? After he says, Rufus says LG and Wilbur couldn't pass Colquitt's background check. Jody Hewitt. Oh my gosh, man. He says, you're fired. What are you, a Donald Trump apprentice or something? Come on, Jody. What do you mean I'm fired? You're fired. We are looking for a new Viking Nation host. Qualifications: never wears black and gold. My brother, I've only made that mistake once. I only had to make that mistake once. It was a funny sight. I'll tell you, it was a funny sight. And all my Viking buddies, they were giving me the eye all afternoon. So anyway, all right, let's talk about, Carrollton's colors are black and gold. So it's going to be the black and gold against the black and gold over there. You know, Rufus, I'm glad you brought that up. When I went up to Carrollton a couple of weeks ago for our playoff game, that was the first thought that came to my mind when I saw Carrollton out there in their home uniforms. Other than the Trojan mascot they had on their helmet, their uniforms look eerily similar as far as color schemes goes. Eerily similar to the Colquitt County Packers, right? You know, Valdosta's black and gold too, but their shade of gold is a little bit brighter, that kind of stuff. Y'all just have that dingy gold. You know what I'm talking about? So I don't really know what you call it, gray poupon or off gold or whatever it's called. But you know what I mean? But that's the first thought that came to mind. It's like, man, Carrollton's uniforms look a lot like Colquitt County's uniforms. Very, very similar color scheme. So anyway, all right, guys, we got about 10 minutes left in the show. Let's talk about this coaching search, this Lowndes coaching search. I'm going to put something up on the screen. Now, we went over this a little bit last week, and this was the job listing that the Lowndes folks put out there. Sean Harrelson put this out there as superintendent for Lowndes County Schools. And the parts in yellow we went over last week. Let me go over that again. Football has always been an integral part of our community. So the search for a candidate who desires to be a part of the Viking winning tradition will not be taken lightly. I mean, that's very reassuring if you're a Lowndes guy. So it says the ideal candidate, and this is key, the ideal candidate will recognize the importance of working cohesively with the one Lowndes family, which includes our players, administration, coaches, faculty, staff, touchdown club, parents, and our supportive fan base. I'm really glad that Sean Harrelson had the foresight to basically lay out who the one Lowndes family is, because that's always been a stumbling block for me, because I've always had the impression that some people within the Lowndes administration viewed the one Lowndes family as just the administration or just the school system. But Sean Harrelson kind of lays it out. He says, no, it includes everybody, basically our community. So he lays it out, works cohesively with the one Lowndes family, which includes our players, administration, coaches, faculty, staff, touchdown club, parents, and our supportive fan base. Really, really glad he listed that out. Now, I went to the touchdown club meeting last night. I went specifically to hear from Sean Harrelson, the decision maker in this job search situation, right? I wanted to hear what he had to say. These are the three things that I learned last night about the Lowndes job. One were the personal traits he's looking for. And I broke these buckets out. Personal traits of the new head coach, professional traits, and then the who and the when. Okay. So the personal traits, this is what he's looking for. How do I know this? Because I asked him specifically. I said, other than what you listed on your job listing when you posted it, what other traits are you looking for? And I specifically asked him about state championship requirements. So Jonathan Watson, if you're still listening, this is where it really, really gets good. So these are the things that he listed out as personal traits. And I was just taking notes furiously as he was saying all this stuff last night. So he's looking for a team player, first and foremost, someone that's cohesive. So it makes sense why he listed that job listing the way that he did. A team player, one that's cohesive with the entire one Lowndes family. And then he goes on to actually break that down, which I really like about Sean Harrelson. He will actually tell you what's on his mind. You got to ask him the right question, but he will tell you what's on his mind. So the team player has to be a team player with the administration, with the coaching staff, which I was kind of surprised to hear him put it that way. The administration, the coaching staff, and the supporters. And we saw that in the job listing, right? We talked about a cohesive relationship with the touchdown club, the parents, the program supporters, all that stuff. Chase Garnto says, yeah, cohesive with the Viking Nation would be awesome. Awesome. Chase, I think you're specifically talking to our group, the Viking Nation here. That would be awesome to have a head coach that's cooperative with us here, because we are huge fans and we're here to promote the program. And for the life of me, I don't understand a coach that doesn't take advantage of that. I'm not saying anything more. A team player, one that's cohesive with the one Lowndes family. A relationship builder. Sean Harrelson stressed this. A relationship builder that can build a relationship with internal partners. And we just listed some of those internal partners, right? So again, that includes administration, the prince. If you've been watching my shows long enough, you've heard me bark up this tree so many times. You can probably regurgitate it. Remember my 4 pillars of long-term sustainable winning for programs, right? And 2 of those pillars were administrative support and community support. These are your internal and external partners. You got to have administrative support. You Colquitt County people, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When the head coach and the administration are butting heads, it's not going to turn out good. It's not going to be a good outcome. So you got to have great internal partnership. You got to have great external partnerships. So that's the person that he's looking for, these personal traits. So what are the professional traits? Now, he expanded on this relationship builder stuff. Okay. Now, some of the stuff that I'm saying to you is me extrapolating what he said. Some of the things that especially the ones that I highlight, he specifically said. Other things I read into it. Okay. So I'm going to tell you the difference. When I tell you that this is exactly what he said versus me reading into it, I'll make a distinction. Relationship builder. Okay. This is me reading into that. A relationship, creating strong, lasting, professional relationships within the system, that is LHS and Lowndes County Schools, with the parents, because obviously you need to have a relationship with the parents if you're going to get the players out. Support groups such as the touchdown club, but not just the touchdown club. The touchdown club, the Viking Voice, our radio broadcasting crew, right? The Viking Nation, and all these other volunteer support groups that we have connected to the Lowndes program. And I reiterated to the group last night, I'm here to support the program, and I'll work with anybody and everybody to achieve those goals. And I know I can be hard-headed sometimes because I'm a type A personality, but my first and foremost job in this chair is to promote the Lowndes program. That's why we call ourselves the Viking Nation. It's not me. It's all of us together. Now, here's two things. Jonathan Watson says he has already turned it down. I'm not sure who. Are you talking about Tucker Pruitt? You could be talking about Tucker Pruitt. But I'm talking about what I learned last night. So professional traits. Now, he specifically said someone that is really going to get in there and work with the middle schools, not just give it lip service, but structure the middle schools to truly turn it into a world-class feeder program, right? And then this was interesting. He also wants someone to build a relationship at the rec league level as well. Isn't that interesting? I don't think I've ever heard a superintendent place an importance on the rec league level. I'm sorry, guys. I had something in my throat there. So that's the professional and the personal traits. Okay. Now, the who and the when. This is what everybody wants to know. So I asked specifically, how many people, how many candidates? This is where it got interesting to me. He made a distinction between the differences between accepting a resume and accepting an application. He said, so far to date, we've got 100 plus resumes, right? But that doesn't mean we have 100 candidates. And so I asked, what's the difference? And this is what he said. He said, and the reason why he put the link out there the way that he did to share the resume was if you showed or expressed interest, he was going to keep that confidential. And he said that as soon as if it was an official application, in his words, that's when everybody around here knows about it, right? I think he specifically talked about other administration officials like superintendents and principals and the like would know. I don't really understand the distinction myself, but that's what he said. That's what he said. Joe, we'll get to that for a second about the new opponent for next year's Georgia-Florida Challenge that Lowndes is going to be traveling over to Colquitt County for. All right, so now this next part, Jonathan, this is where we started talking about the state championship requirements. Now, I hear what you said, Jonathan, when you called on the phone a while ago, and you said that you got this from a coach. And I don't doubt that you did. I'm just telling you what Sean Harrelson said to me when I asked him this specific question. I said, Dr. Harrelson, when you are looking for a candidate for this head coaching position, what kind of traits are you looking at other than what you've listed? Specifically, Do they need to have state championships under their belt? Is that a requirement that you're looking for? You know what he said? He said, no, not necessarily. He said there is some benefit to that. His first and foremost is looking for a candidate that has the wins and losses as a great record, because obviously that's what we're trying to do is win football games. But Wilbur, you were there. You can back me up. He went on to talk about, sometimes if you got someone that has a lot of state championships under their belt, and this is me paraphrasing what he was saying, that sometimes they are stuck in their ways and it may contradict or not lend credence to some of the other traits. Remember those personal traits that we talked about? Cohesive one Lowndes family, relationship builder. You get someone in there with 5 or 6 state championships, they're set in their ways. They know that they are the bee's knees. I don't even know if that's a real saying, but they think that they are it, God's gift to football. Sometimes I can see his points. Sometimes that might stand in the way of being a team player, because that coach knows that he's the world. He's the sun. He's the moon. Everything revolves around him. And sometimes that might go against with what he's trying to build, which is a team and relationship environment out there. I can see the pros and cons. Some people, some diehard fans would say, hey, listen, we're Lowndes program, because you heard me say it on this program. Why not get the biggest and baddest coach out there? I can see the other side of it. I don't think you can go wrong. It's just a matter of what you are looking for. And I've been around managers. I've been around directors, vice presidents, CEO. I've been around all these people that have hired in the past, right? And sometimes when someone leaves in an organization, you look for things that you did not like in that person, and you try to go in the opposite direction to see if you can get all the great that you did like and get these other pluses that you did not have. And I can see his point in stating the way he stated that to me. Okay, so he's not necessarily putting it out there that the next coach has to have state championships under his belt. Definitely got to have the wins and losses as a great record. Now, what's this? Travis Hart says, well, that means Probst is out of consideration. He was out of consideration before consideration started, Travis. I'm just telling you. Mark Dixon said, in my industry, we call that hiring bad habits. Yeah, I can see that. Wilbur Pelfrey says, I thought it was going to be same to I'm not sure what you're replying to there. You might be replying to someone else. Not sure. So he was talking about Carrollton head coach last time we hired. All right, Wilbur, you're going to have to call me and tell me what you're talking about. Jonathan Watson said the Carrollton head coach. Oh, you're talking about the Carrollton head coach has already turned it down. Huh, that's interesting. That's very, very, that's very, very interesting. Okay, so Ty Snellgrove says it's got to start on the rec league level if we're going to compete with North Georgia. The off-season training has to be key. Also, we got to play catch up at this point. Hate to say it, to compete with North Georgia teams. Oh, Wilbur, you're saying in the last time when they hired? I'm assuming that you meant when they hired Zach Grage. Maybe the Carrollton coach turned us down. Oh, okay. He did last year before they hired Grage. Now, that's interesting. Now, the Carrollton head coach is who? Joey King? Huh, that's interesting. So that basically, what is the timeline? What is the timeline going forward? Okay. Now, I asked him that as well, and he said that we have to wait until the playoffs are over because some of the coaches that are showing interest are still in the playoffs. Okay. Read into that what you want. He didn't name names. I asked him not to name names, but I did ask him specifically, can you give us an indication of which way you're leaning? At which point everybody in the room laughed because we all knew that he wasn't going to answer that question. Right. But read into that what you want. some of the coaches that did show interest, that are showing interest, are still in the playoffs. Well, shoot, that doesn't narrow it down a lot. It does narrow it down some, right? So if you take it on face value, there's 8 classes, 4 teams left, so 32 potential coaches. Not everyone of those coaches have shown interest, right? But I'm imagining some of them. Now, he did say there have been coaches all over the nation that have sent in resumes. Okay, so to recap, 100+ resumes all over the nation, not required to have state championships, although that is a bonus, but it's not a requirement. And so what's the timeline? It's got to be after the playoffs are over. He specifically said he would like to get someone in here in January. Okay. I can't tell you when in January. He just said in January. Jonathan, I got you, man. I got you. So Daniel Calhoun says, this is an interesting comment. Daniel Calhoun says, Tucker fits all these categories and Harrelson knows everything about Tucker. Yeah, well, yeah, Daniel. Yeah, we did recognize that that Sean and Tucker have worked together already at Fitzgerald. I don't know the degree to which they worked together. I don't know how strong of a relationship they had. Could have been great, could have been not so great. I don't know because I'm not in part of that community. But we do recognize that that Tucker did work for Sean Harrelson. Jason Strickland, for a short period of time at Ware, worked for Sean Harrelson. And that's the experiences with the head coaches that he's had. So I would imagine that he probably at least thought about or reached out to those 2 head coaches. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, there are others. Obviously, that's only 2. So we're talking about at least 98 other head coaches out there that have expressed interest by sending in a resume. So that's basically the personal traits, the professional traits, the who and the when. We don't know the specifics, but we do know more today than we knew yesterday. So anyway, Sean Harrelson is one that plays it very, very close to the vest. Just in my short experience with him. Remember, he's still new to the Lowndes County school system, right? As a superintendent that just replaced Wes Taylor, who is loving retirement right now. I saw Wes a couple of weeks ago at a restaurant during lunch, Wood Nickel Pub. He was eating with his family. And I'm telling you, that dude looks like he doesn't have a care in the world other than caring for his grandbabies right now. And I mentioned that. I said, Wes, you don't look stressed out. He said, let me tell you how good this is right now. So he's keeping himself busy. So Wes was a fantastic superintendent that we had. He moved on to retirement. Sean Harrelson stepped up to the plate. Now he's the commander-in-chief, and he's kind of hard to read right now. So still planning on having a sit-down meeting with him so we can get to know each other a little bit more. And so we'll see. We'll see. Chase, we'll talk privately about the text message you just sent me. So, guys, that's going to wrap it up for our show tonight. Let me just go ahead and quick glance over some of the comments, make sure I answer all your questions. Out of consideration, last time. Chad Howe says the Moultrie teams are competing with North Georgia just fine. Chad, you bring up a very good point. Will that continue? Now, every once in a while, now, Stevie Sheffield, Rufus, and other Colquitt fans may disagree with me. But you are going to have some cycles of athletes that they're going to be super athletes. And I think Colquitt is in one of those cycles. Now, although they did get a transfer from the metro Atlanta area, he's just one guy, but he is a really good player. In what's his name? Starting safety and punt returner over there. Is Luttrell his last name? I think that's right. I think he's a very highly ranked or rated D1 athlete. So, George Coach Trainer. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So Joe Mamone, if you are still out there, Trainer, Joe said that he is getting close to finding a so when I end my show, I'm going to call Joe and see which candidates he's got. So when he says that he's close, he's probably sent contracts to if I know, I've known Joe for a little while now. So he probably means that he's either narrowed it down to a couple of different teams, or he's already sent contracts and waiting to get them back before he makes it public. So I'll find out for sure. But he said that he was getting close to so I don't think we have a specific team that we can name right now. Sorry to disappoint you there, but I think that what is August. It was August 20th this year, so it's what, August 19th next year, I think, something like that, over in Moultrie. So Lowndes is going to play that early 5 o'clock game. Yeah, Jack Luttrell is the Colquitt player over there. So Chad, you bring up a good point as far as Colquitt competing, but it's not every year. And the Metro Atlanta teams are here to stay with their super assembled teams. You were at Colquitt, I don't even think they made it out of the first round last year, did they? If they did, certainly not in the second round. I mean, that's one of the big reasons why Justin Rogers is not there any longer. But so my point is, they've got some super assembled teams up there that are very, very difficult to beat. You're going to need a good cycle of athletes to be able to overcome that. And can it be done? Absolutely. Is it going to be done without everybody being all in? No, it's not. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in depth next week, but I don't know how to say this. Here's something for Lowndes fans to be stewing on until next week's show. Guys, we got to step it up. Our touchdown club is doing all they can. But when I went to that meeting last night, I found out some things that we got to do. We got to really, really step it up. As far as we need more people involved, not just money-wise. We're talking about warm bodies showing up as volunteers to help the program. That's what we need. That's what I'm talking about. We need more engagement from our fan base into that program. And you Lowndes guys that were there last night, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I was alarmed by some of the things that I heard last night as far as needing help and not being able to get it. So we need to do a lot better job at raising money because the arms race is here. So we've done a great job, and the guys that run the club have done a great job at raising money up to this point, but we got to put it into hyperdrive if we're going to compete effectively. And so we'll be talking about that a little bit more next week. And some of you guys I'm going to be calling privately and having one-on-one conversations about some things that we might be able to do. Okay. Because we got to step up our game if we're going to compete effectively. So guys, that's going to do it for this week's show. Thank you so much for tuning in to this special edition, this combined edition of the pregame Blitz and the Viking Nation Live. We'll see you guys next week. Have a Merry Christmas. May God bless you. And we'll see you next week. Adios. And as always, go Vikings.